Most backtests look amazing, right up until you trade them with real money. Today, I'll show you the simple system used to make backtests behave more like the future and less like a pretty lie. I'm Mark Anderson, former construction worker turned 0DT hedge fund manager. I trade for a living and I've broken plenty of perfect backtest. This is the practical checklist I wish I had earlier, as your strategy doesn't die in the moment the market speeds up. We'll keep this simple with 3 stages. 1. Design it right so you're not sneaking future into the past. 2. Test it right so you see the real costs, slippage, and stress. And 3. Prove it right with out-of-sample data and what-if checks. Stick around to the end and I'll give you my go-to green light signal before I start trading anything live. Design, test, and prove it. Stage 1. We got to design the test right. Don't bake in fantasy. Start with one sentence. I think X edge exists because Y, and I'll measure it using Z. Example, I think SPX premium decays fast on calm mornings. I'll test selling 0DT credit spreads after an overnight gap down when the implied volatility has increased. Pick the exact instrument and time frame first, intraday options, use 1-minute or 5-minute bars for a trigger, and the options chain data for actual fills. Keep the features as simple as possible. If the edge dies when you remove your fancy indicator, it wasn't an edge, it was decoration. Only use the information that would have existed at the time of decision. That means point-in-time prices in Greeks. Buying an option before an earnings release or economic data release must be excluded because you did not have that data before the trade. Garbage in, garbage out. Cross-check your data sources for wide bid-ask spreads. Run heat maps for that indicator you're using so it shows that it works when market is up 0.1%, 0.3%, or 0.5%, not just 0.16%. If you're getting your signal from Options Omega, cross-check that with an indicator from TradingView. Once you have ran your test through many iterations of data to ensure it's clear, leave a 1 to 2% margin of error for the entry data so that your results will be robust in the future. Stage 2, test it right. Make it feel like the tape is real and you have rules to follow, instead of just a stubborn robot. You want to enter a put credit spread between 9:35 and 10:15 when the implied volatility rank is below 20 and the 5-minute ATR is falling and the price is above the VWAP. Your exit condition may be take a 50% profit of the credit sold on the time-based entry at 3:45 or stop at a 2x stop loss. Your sizing. We have a fixed transaction or vol scaled size for one position. We never want to risk more than, let's say, 0.5% of our account or 1% of our account per trade. Personally, I like to use an R multiple, meaning that 1 R would be a $1,000 loss. The fills won't be perfect, so you need to model your commission, exchange fees, clearing fees, and most important, slippage. This grows as speed of markets widen. Wider slippage, bigger orders, more slippage. If your curve only works with fantasy fills, it won't work in real life. We need to be aware of how modest our slippage assumptions are. If we're using a delta-based trade, as the market gets more volatile, you will experience more slippage and higher volatility. That means you need to build that into your backtest. You need to run your backtest through different regimes: calm markets, trending markets, chop markets, and shock scenarios. A good system should survive all 4, even if it shines only in one. Ignore the annualized return. That's just for bragging. Focus on these things: max drawdown and drawdown length. Can you emotionally sit through the length of that drawdown? I will not trade anything that sits in drawdown for over 6 months. Profit factor and win to loss distribution. Is the risk to reward reasonable? So if you get a much longer losing streak than in the backtest, you can still recover in under 6 months? What's your trade frequency or the time in the market? The more frequent the trade occurs and the less time frame going back in time we need to have conviction in that trade for our data set. What is the risk-adjusted metrics, like Sortino ratio or Sharpe ratio? I like these because it takes into account the standard deviations of returns, not just one single worst day like in max drawdown. Stage 3, you need to prove it right. Kill overfit because it will eventually kill you. Instead of optimizing on the whole history, do walk forward analysis. Pick parameters on a past window, then roll that window forward and trade out of sample data for in-sample data and repeat. You want to be okay at everything, not perfect parameters that are amazing in one spot. nudge the knobs, and if shifting the look back from 18 to 20 months in performance changes the robustness, we see that that's a problem. You want to randomize your trade order and reshuffle the sample with replacement. You also want to think of the 1,000 different times the distribution could have changed with a Monte Carlo analysis in terms of drawdown. What are the potential chances that you'll realize a 20% drawdown in the range of returns? If the bad luck hits you at the worst time, can you stay solvent? You're closer to your real risk is less than 1%, you should be safe. These are important questions you need to answer before going live and trading. Keep 10 to 20% of the most recent data untouched and walk forward. If the live slice craters your performance, this is something you need to pay attention to. Paper trade it forward to understand what it looks like for a bit before you check the plumbing, the exits, and the quotes. My tip is to walk forward with a 1/8 analysis. So for every period you have out of sample, you have 8 periods in sample. This would look like a 24-month look back with 3 months out of sample. I only consider going live if all 3 of these trades are applicable. 1, walk forward and out of sample are within shouting distance of in-sample data. They match the prior Sharpe ratio within a 25% probability. 2, sensitivity shows a plateau of acceptable parameters. The standard deviation of returns maintains consistency over time of all the periods. In 3, Monte Carlo analysis says my worst realistic path is survivable in the Monte Carlo max drawdown around 3 of the worst performances on the backtest. And 4, cost of slippage are baked in, and I even worsen the actual slippage by 10 to 20% of what I've experienced in real life to make sure my test is robust. And 5, the strategy still makes sense in plain English. There's a human, understandable reason that the edge should exist. Think of a backtest like training for a mountain or type of hike. Design it right, wear the right boots, don't pretend like the mountain is flat. Test it right, train with a weighted pack, fees, commissions, and slippage, and then prove it right. Try it in a training in different types of weathers, walk forward analysis, sensitivity, and Monte Carlo analysis. If only one practice on the treadmill and then you get to the real mountain, it'll beat you. If I were starting from scratch this week, I'd pick one clear hypothesis and code the dumbest possible version of that first. Then I would add cost, slippage, commissions, and fees early. Don't save it for later. Then I would run a mini walk forward in Monte Carlo analysis before I chase any optimization. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you use as your checklist before running a backtest live. Next video, I'll show you how I model slippage for fast markets without level 2 data. Subscribe if you want to see that. I'll see you guys next time.